Hey everybody, this is Will, and in this video we're going to talk about the top 5 best MIDI controllers for keyboardists running tracks in 2022. Now we're in the middle of this series where we're talking about the best MIDI controllers for live performance. Last week we talked about the 5 best MIDI foot controllers for guitar players, and this week, keyboardists, you get some love. Now I want to specify before I get into my top picks that these are not full-size keyboards that you can use to play parts in Ableton Live. I'm picking 5 best MIDI controllers that can sit on top of your keyboard that you've already got. Whether it's just a MIDI controller, it's a hardware keyboard like a Nord or Yamaha Motif, whatever you've got. These are MIDI controllers that are going to sit on top of your keyboard to control tracks in Ableton Live. And in addition to that, I've tried to pick things that work well if you're using soft synths as well too, to give you some control over those. Now, the most important part of this video though, and I know this is why everyone is here, is each week as we talk about different positions in the band, I thought it would be fun, and actually not fun because this is very, very serious, but I thought it's important that we start each of these videos with a joke about that specific instrument. So today, again, we're talking about piano players and keyboardists. So naturally, my question is, where do piano players go for vacation? And as you probably guessed, it's the Florida Keys. So with that, let's talk number 5, top pick, the Nano Control 2. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, Will, real creative pick. We've been using this guy for years. Well, it's still a great controller. We're going to do a separate video shootout of microcontrollers in the future, but this still is a great controller. Here's the main reason why. We get these little faders, and yes, they're super, super tiny. We get these knobs at the top. Yes, they're super tiny. They fall off all the time. They're super cheap. But what I love about this controller is we also have transport control. So I would highly encourage you, if you're using one of these, keep these controls here for your Ableton control, your track control. So make this play, make this stop, make this repeat, previous locator, next locator, and use these other buttons on the Nano Control to actually control your key stuff. And then obviously we get our faders as well too that we can control. Again, this is a super affordable controller. And again, I know you're going, Will, we've known about this for years, but it's still great. Okay, next on the list is one you may not know about. This is the Mixface by Studio Logic. This is a great controller. I remember seeing this at NAMM a couple years ago when NAMM was still a thing, and I know it's coming back this summer and love to be there. But this is a great controller. This is the Mixface from Studio Logic. I really like this is because it gives me bigger faders than something like a microcontroller like the Nano Control 2. I get some buttons that can be assigned. I get some knobs up here that can be assigned. But what I really like, particularly for keyboardists that are running tracks, is I get these transport controls. And again, that's super important because yes, we're playing key sounds, but we're also triggering tracks in Ableton Live. And these buttons are super important and super helpful for that. So the Mixface is a really great controller from a company that I like, Studio Logic. I've got a Studio Logic keyboard sitting in front of me. Thanks to my buddy Tyler for lending this to me. And it's really great. Another controller from another company that I love. In fact, I've got it sitting right here. What could it be? What could he have? Now I'm going to show you. It's the Presonus ATOM. Again, you're going, Will, you've lost your mind. We knew about the Nano Control 2. How in the world is this going to be a great controller for keys players? Well, 2 things. One, we get plenty of pads to turn on and off instruments to trigger clips in Ableton Live. We get transport controls, either using our pads or using our transport controls here that we can control things with. That's super great. But then at the top, we get these encoders. And what I like about these endless encoders is as you turn them, they keep turning. And what makes that really nice is wherever your fader is in live, you can just reach up and turn that encoder, and it's going to match what it's set to in live. And so there's 4 of them there, but there's different banks. You can pull this up as a remote control using a control script in live and change through your different instruments and get control there. Just so much flexibility with the Atom. Again, it's super light. It's super affordable. It's great as a beat maker as well too, which I am probably the furthest thing you'll ever meet from a beat maker, but it's really, really great. And for keyboardists, don't rule it out just because it's a drum pad controller. Next up is maybe another one that you're going, Will, I think you've lost it. You're off your rocker. That's the Push from Ableton. And it's not that it's not a great controller, but you've maybe never thought about using this as a keyboard player. Here's the main reason. Again, at the top, those encoders and the screen. I realized this was actually, this is even a better image to show you. I actually realized this live during a webinar years ago for a company I used to work with. And we were talking about using Ableton Live for keys. And I had my Push on my MIDI controller. And as I was looking at my Push, I realized looking at this screen, I basically got a kind of visual display of each of my macros in Ableton Live. So I could see what each of those controls are. So as opposed to some of the other controllers where you're just kind of reaching up and hoping and praying you grab the correct control, with Push, you can actually look at the screen and look at the visual screen and see exactly what you're controlling. You see in this video that this person's controlling the feedback on echo. As they turn that, they see the visual feedback. Now they're back in their instrument. You can really truly navigate Ableton Live without ever having to touch your computer with Push. And I think as a keyboard player, it's great. You get those controllers up top. You again can navigate all the different key sounds if you want to, put it in user mode if you want to. And again, we obviously have our transport controls here as well too. Now, this is a pretty pricey controller if you're just going to use it for that. But on top of that, I mean, it's full control of Ableton Live. You never have to touch the screen. It's great for, again, you can see this person playing keys directly on Push. It's great for creating beats, for creating music in Ableton Live. But I think it's a really, really great MIDI controller for keyboardists, particularly keyboardists using tracks in Ableton Live. Now, to my number one pick, I'm kind of a broken record here, constantly on repeat about this particular company, just because I love their stuff. You can see above my head, this particular control I'm going to recommend, and that is the Oakboard Slide Duo from Oaktone. Now, you may be looking at this again and go, Will, you have lost your mind. 2 faders. What am I going to do with 2 faders? Well, I get that. This may be not the best solution for you if you're a keys player and using a lot of virtual soft synth stuff. Maybe for you, you get a Korg NanoKontrol too. But if your primary thing is, hey, I need really easy, simple control over my tracks in Ableton Live, and having some faders would be nice. That would be a nice thing to have. Then the Slide Duo is great for you. And here's the reason I love all of Jeff's stuff. It's really well built. It's rock solid. The Slide Duo in particular gives you 2 USB outputs so that you can control multiple machines, kind of basically do a redundancy type setup with this controller. But you get these 2 faders, and these faders are really, really well built. I know that sounds like something silly to talk about, but we've looked at like the Nano Control 2, which have these real cheap kind of plastic faders, and they're small kind of fader distance. But what Jeff chose for these faders, the type of faders he chose, just even moving them, it's super, super smooth. So if you could get by with those 2 faders, maybe you just need one for pad and you need the other one for tracks, whatever it is, that I think the Oakboard Slide Duo is a great solution. And it fits really, really easily and compactly on top of your piano keyboard, your MIDI controller. And again, it's really well built. So this may be like a pick that you go, huh, that doesn't make sense to me as a keyboard player. But again, I get all of these controls here. Play, stop, previous, next. What else in life do you need to control Ableton Live with? But then I get these 2 additional buttons that could choose key sounds, can navigate through clips in Ableton Live, whatever you want it to do. It's a really, really good solution. So that's a look at maybe something you didn't expect, but what I believe to be the top 5 MIDI controllers for keyboardists that are running tracks in 2022. If you want to get the rest of my picks, maybe in-ears, maybe guitar player, we talked about last week, audio interfaces, hard drives, whatever it is, then head to fromstudiostage.com/gear. You can download my free gear guide. And in it, I've got all of my top picks for MIDI controllers, audio interfaces, anything that's built, created for live performance or live performance adjacent. So again, even things like hard drives. What's the best hard drive for live performance? You'll find all of that in that gear guide. And it's completely free. So again, head to fromstudiostage.com/gear to grab that. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Join me next week, 10 a.m. Central, Saturday, 10 a.m. Central, as we're going to talk about the top 5 best MIDI controllers for drummers. And as you imagine, there's going to be some good drummer jokes as well too. Maybe we'll do 2 next week. I think that's what we should do. So join me next week, 10 a.m. Central, Saturday, for that premiere. But thanks for watching this. Make sure you download the gear guide. We'll see you next week. Take care, everybody. Bye.